Timor. The same reason I served there. I served the people of East Timor in Australia for their independence and their freedom. And if you think back to the 1990s, the East Timorese were screaming for freedom, and they fought and they fought and they fought and they got their freedom. And I was more than happy to go. After I'd served my time, I thought I would relax. I suffered a lot as a result of my service, but I thought I'd relax and retire. But this is something we can no longer ignore this. It's garbage. I was at the first march, proud to be there. The second march, people were afraid. And fear just means false evidence appearing real, or face everything and recover. And the World War II veteran taught me that. He knows what fear is. There's nothing wrong with fear. There's nothing wrong with anxiety. Courage is just having fear, but still doing what you know the right thing to do is, even when you're afraid. That's the simple definition of courage. Even when I'm shaking and scared, I still stand up for freedom. We all need to do that. These medals don't mean anything without these Australians. Us, as a team. We're a brotherhood, sisterhood. I have a wife, I have children. I'm a human. I don't care what colour your skin is. I don't care if you call yourself Arthur or Martha. I don't care what's mixed between your legs. If you're a human and you want freedom and you don't want to be caged, then come with us.
Well said.
Well said. There you go. Thank you.
Hello. All right, everybody. It's Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant. Guys, so look, I do a radio show. It's on WSL and WACK. WSL is out of Rochester, New York. It's 1040 a.m. and WACK is down in the beautiful Newark, New York. But this is bonus content for you, the internet viewer. So guys, I kind of last minute everything, getting things together. Got a phone call right before I came on the air. It was a very stressful phone call. No big deal. It's kind of good news, but it's also like a lot of pressure. So not sure how prepped I am, but I am going to put together a show. So remember, the likes, the comments, the shares, that helps people see this. That helps us have this conversation. As you guys know, I have talked about Andrew Cuomo several hundred times in the course of my podcasting, broadcasting stuff. So this show is going out on the Twitters. I got a YouTube channel. It's I'm going to put it on Rumble. But most importantly, guys, there's a radio station that has the guts, the grits, and the courage to put the libertarian politics on for people to check it out. So 5 days a week, we're available on YSL. We're available 5 days a week, WACK, Monday through Friday. So this is pre-recording for the Thursday show because, guys, I love doing this, but I do, not unfortunately, right? But I have to make a living, right? Isn't that how it goes? Hello, Shelly. Hello, Ryan Bedford. Thank you guys for being here. So the basic deal, guys, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, all right? I've got probably 10 minutes prepared already at least, but I'm going to be taking your questions. Shelly, I'll figure that stuff out. You know me. I'm like, I fly by the seat of my pants on this stuff. So I don't know. Did you got the notification from the Free Solution YouTube channel? Probably. Mine is just Tim O'Connor, I think. But if you look up Timothy O'Connor, I think you can find it. I had somebody find it for me once during one of my shows. But anyways, guys, we're going to, I'm going to do about 10 seconds, 15 seconds of dead air. And then I am going to start the radio show. Once again, welcome to A Free Solution. It's Tim O'Connor, your Thursday host, sharing a platform with wonderful people who believe in liberty. Larry Sharp, you can catch him on Tuesdays. And guys, he was on fire on Tuesdays. I try really hard to catch every one of Larry's shows, regardless of what I'm doing. Put it on my phone, listen up, and I check it out. Sometimes I call in, try to help him out. Craig Miles did a show today or yesterday, guys. You got to check him out. He's up and coming. He's really good at this. And of course, Kevin Wilson and I rounding it out, right? So Kevin's on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. I do Thursdays and Fridays, and Kevin and I just try to have fun on Friday. So I hope you guys all join us. Come back on Friday and check everything out. But look, dude, I've gone through life, guys, as an optimist, and I think some of you guys are gonna pick up this vibe. Okay, a lifetime of being an optimist, and now we people, liberty-minded people that realize that spending money rapidly and rampantly causes inflation. Okay, causes problems. It devalues our currency, and so the reality is here we are, right? I'm not sure that I'm as optimistic as I used to be. Okay, and I think the state of affairs in our country and in the world is it after 2 years of a COVID lockdown, guys. Who thought that every politician handled that correctly? Because even politicians know they didn't handle it correctly. But when we're looking at what's going on with gas prices, I mean, $4.40 for a gallon of gas before, okay, before we banned Russian oil imports, okay? And guys, there's things about oil that people don't seem to understand. The United States of America has massive oil supplies. We don't drill for them, we don't access them. We're regulated, ruled, and denied access to them, okay? And that's an absolute reality. We were a net exporter of oil and petroleum products and natural gas, okay? As of 2021, in comes 2022 with a restriction on permits, with a restriction on drilling, with a restriction on all of these things, and this pro-green narrative, which, guys, some of it makes sense. I'm not against anything at all. Like, I don't want to position myself against anything, but I've got to talk about one more time. We've got to talk about natural gas and gas and oil and national security and how it ties into that. And because they're talking about making electric school buses for kids. Okay, I've got to be honest with you. The thought of putting kids on electric school buses in upstate New York, and guys, there's places in the country that are colder than New York State, that are legitimately colder than New York State. Okay, that putting kids on electric school buses in the middle of winter is a scary thing. So what's our solution? Where's it at? What do we got to do, guys? And I think most of you out here, the people that listen to this radio station, the people that are listening to this broadcast right now, understand that national security, that the access to resources, our environmental resources, is still important, regardless of what we want to convert to a green energy system. That all of that, if it's done correctly and over time and with national security in mind, I'm comfortable with all of it. I totally am comfortable with all of it. I would prefer, as always, I'm a dedicated to the notion of a free market economy, right? An absolute concept of a free market economy. Is it okay that the government invests in solar panels? Is it okay that the government is propping up wind turbines? In a way, it's all right. But where the problem comes in is especially with wind turbines, with big windmills, siting them is a real issue. And New York State, like many other states, are moving in this direction. It's taking that local narrative, that local ability to make those decisions as to whether communities should have wind turbines, taking it out of the hands of local communities and put it with the state. So that's, guys, is of course a problem. So where's the good news? Where's the good news? Is the good news is Russia's invading Ukraine? Is the good news that gas prices are spiking? And as an economics major, guys, I'm telling you, like, supply shock inflation is the worst kind of inflation. Okay, so when natural gas, or when gas and oil prices spike, okay, for whatever reason, that reverberates throughout the entire economy. And I think all of you guys already know this. I'm probably boring you and being repetitive, and I apologize with that, right? But it's still real, and it's still on the top of everybody's mind, and it's a discussion that we should have, right? So what are the solutions? We have a solution in New York State, right? They're going to waive perhaps give us a gas tax holiday, which amounts to about 10 cents a gallon. The federal taxes, I think, on a gallon of gas are around 40 cents a gallon. So the even at the national level, they're talking about waiving the taxes. But I do want to talk about something that people go to all the time, and they talk about how it's the profit generating big businesses that are being greedy that are causing gas prices to go up, not the artificial contraction of supply, not the anticipated decline in supply, not in the anticipate. And this is where people kind of lose the train of thought, right? The anticipated, guys, if we're anticipating a pipeline shipping, oil to Michigan and increasing our input, and then still having the trains being able to ship extra petroleum from huge reserves up in Canada or Alaska or wherever they're coming from. Okay, when we can anticipate a future supply, all right, then companies base their pricing on what they anticipate replacement costs to be. That's a reality, okay? So that's what we're seeing, a contraction of supply artificially, now another contraction of supply, i.e., banning Russian imports. And guys, I don't know what the answer is to this Russian conflict. Okay, I want to be clear about that. I think that occasionally libertarians don't have the best idea. I advocate for the people of Russia. I advocate for the people in Ukraine. I stand by that premise. It's a big deal to me that we live our lives realizing that there are people behind these regimes that are throwing weapons at each other. And those are the people that we want to relate to. And those are the people that we do relate to. They just want to get up, do their jobs, live their lives, and grow their families. That's all they want to do. That's all we want to do. Excuse me, guys. And pointing guns at each other is a real problem. So when we're talking about taxes, okay, 10 cents on a gallon of gas, 40 cents to on the federal level on a gallon of gas, and the profit margin on a gallon of gas somewhere around 4 or 5 cents. Okay, so if you sell a gallon of gas, the net producer, the original producer of that gallon of gas makes like a penny or 2 pennies. The distributor makes a penny or 2 pennies per gallon, and then the government gets on the order of 50, 60 cents a gallon of gas. So how is the company greedier than the government? Somebody's got to explain that to me. Some of my leftist friends who make these comments, you've got to explain that piece to me. Like, how is government not the greedy one in this scenario? And also, government is the one that is limiting our access to our proven petroleum reserves in the United States. And for even from our friends, right? Like Canada would sell us tons of gas down that Keystone pipeline, and tons of oil down the Keystone pipeline. And now they have to put it on Warren Buffett trains, which keeps Warren Buffett rich. And now they have to ship it to us on trains. I don't know that that's safer or better or cleaner or anything. Pipelines, guys, are historically very clean. So if we want to move to green energy, I'm telling you the way to go, we have to move towards nuclear. Okay. We have to move towards nuclear. And I saw a comment somewhere about even Elon Musk, the guy who's running Tesla, who's making money off of making electric cars, wants to talk about drilling for more petroleum in our own country, increasing our local supply. And guys, that was one thing. You guys, if you've watched any of my other shows, I make fun of Donald Trump, but I do have to give him props when he did things correctly, right? And one of the things that was really good for our economy was drilling for oil and providing it. Now, again, I know that there's people that have a lot of green concerns, but use the free market to win the debate, okay? Tesla's popular. His cars are cool looking. And guys, I don't know if you've ever had a Tesla drive past you. It's the weirdest thing. Probably you have now. Everybody probably has. They make almost no noise. Like, which, guys, honestly, there's really cool things about electric vehicles. But electric school buses for kids is a safety concern, okay? Loaded up with 30 kids on a freezing cold day, when that thing does what batteries do when it's cold, there's going to be problems, huge problems, and it's a danger. Guys, we're coming up on a break. To the internet viewer, I'll hang out. We'll talk some more about your comments. And guys, thank you all for being here. It's Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant, WSL, WACK. I'll be back after these messages. All right, guys, thank you very much, man. This is great. This is a good show. We've got a good amount of likes already. We've got a good amount of people. Thank you all for the questions and comments. Matt, thanks for finding my YouTube channel for me. That's great. Shelly, check that out, right? Let me put this up. Yeah, YouTube videos for pep talks during Larry's. Good. Yeah, look, Larry was on. He was on fire Tuesday. He was talking about the petitioning thing, and we could talk about that too. Maybe for a segment, we can break out a segment out of that. But petitioning, guys, and getting signatures going to be hugely important this year. Good losing. And look, that's one of Eric July when he's bashing roads, man. He's like, let smart people figure out the roads, right? Let smart people figure this out. And look, I'll be honest, like there's a pretty decent part of me that says Elon Musk is not, and I know you know this, right? I'm not knocking you, right? Okay. Elon Musk is not necessarily the hero of everything. He's just witty and smart, and he puts good ideas out there, and he's popular, and like he was targeted by our leaders for them to gain in popularity. So the reality is he's kind of he works the government for money, and he does it really well. He does invest his own money, so he puts his own stuff at risk. I get it, but he's also kind of like, what's the word, like where a guy goes, credit shopper, right? He goes credit farming. What he does is credit farms, right? So he gets a big facilities built for him by government. He gets lots and lots and lots of tax breaks to bring his new technology into an area. And sometimes it doesn't, I don't know if it pays off, right? But he's at the forefront of the news because he's smart, he's witty, he's popular, and he says really cool stuff, right? So, and he did like donate $6 billion to end world hunger, even though that's not going to end world hunger, but he still did it, right? He still put his money where his mouth is to be a good person. So you got to give the guy props for that. And so got to figure out what we're going to leap to next. Who wants to talk about Cuomo next, guys? A little bit about Cuomo. Maybe we'll do a little 50-50 Cuomo and you know what I'll do? I'll work down through some of these. Kevin Wilson, what's up, brother? I will work down through some of these comments in the next segment. All right, and give me about 15 seconds. Welcome back to A Free Solution. It's Tim O'Connor, the Thursday host of A Free Solution, the Freedom Variant. Guys, check out my stuff. I've got a Facebook page called Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant. Please like that page. So before the break, we were talking about the fossil fuels as an issue that we're facing right now in society. When gas, every day we go to fill up our car, if you skip a day, like you see 10-20 cent increase in the price of your gas. And people are making some great comments out there. And I just kind of, we talked about Trump and how his drive for energy independence was beneficial to the U.S. economy. We've talked about how important energy is to people. We didn't get to go. Okay, sorry guys, my power is a much better solution than forms of energy, but that's okay. We've had shows about that. We'll talk more about that. So when we talk about the gas taxes, guys, this is a good one. Thanks, Ryan Bett, for being out there. The gas tax holiday proves it's artificial in the first place, to push towards zero carbon. If they can just lift a gas tax, let's just hope they don't ever actually bring it back. Okay, like wouldn't that make for a better policy? And guys, again, as I was talking about before the break, the profit margin on a gallon of gas compared to the amount of taxes on a gallon of gas, every single one of us should be asking, where's the real greed here? Okay, let me grab another comment from Ryan. Yeah, they're trying to end oil consumption, and probably a lot of you guys out there in the radio audience too understand that is certainly does seem to be, we're at the crux of this, right? We're talking about the new world order. We're talking about Agenda 2030. We're talking about Klaus Schwab. Everybody's having conversations about this. And yes, the elites in the world are very much against oil consumption. And I am afraid that the ends will justify the means. And that does, in fact, concern me. Hey, Robert Forrest, thank you. They certainly want to stop them from being built. Um, oh, he's talking. I apologize to the radio audience. I've got a comment about how they, meaning the elites in the world, I presume, right, want to shut down pipelines, even though pipelines are a proven safer way of delivering oil. It's a cleaner way of delivering oil. Yes, there are property right issues, and those things have to be negotiated out effectively. I get all of that. All right, and this is from my friend Shelly. We cut more wood than I could count with a belt strapped to the running wheel of our dune buggy that was a VW bug with the body removed. Guys, back in the 70s and 80s, they had wood was a way to go, and they had all of these fancy ways of splitting wood. I'm not kidding. I swear I saw exactly what Shelly's in operation, where they had like a spike on one of the wheels, and they would just lean against the wood and it would turn into the wood and it would split it apart. Wood is another possible solution to but again, even in New York State, like they're going out of their way to reduce your use of wood to heat your house. They do seem to be driving everyone towards electric. And I gotta say that electric is draws a big like demand for electric heat is a huge demand. You use a lot of electric to make heat. It's not the most efficient way. Having locally sourced heat in your house seems to be a better way. It seems to be safer. And again, that goes to that school bus thing. Like, how are they going to do that? And, okay, and guys, like we were talking about Trump in the last segment. Another thing that Trump did right since the 90s was not being a Democrat. And guys, look, I think that maybe there are people in the Democratic Party that are waking up to the current situation with the Democrat Party. I think even in New York State, we saw them double down and re-triple down on the whole COVID narrative. and I think that at some point we have to realize that there are probably people in the Democratic Party that can't be happy about exactly what's going on in the Democratic Party. And as a libertarian, I hope that they listen to people like Larry Sharp and the solutions that they craft, right? I think that that would be great. Um, so guys, I one of my favorite like subjects to talk about is our friend Andrew Cuomo. Who, guys, check this out. Andrew Cuomo is back in the news, literally back in the news with a leading statement of God isn't finished with me yet. God isn't finished with me yet. Cuomo comes out against cancel culture. He blamed cancel culture for his resignation. I'm referring to an article that I found in the Politico before the show tonight. And guys, this guy, um, I mean, first of all, I don't like calling people names, but some of his behaviors would fit what we would have to call a narcissist. I mean, I don't know that we could deny that he has, and I suppose most politicians have some narcissistic qualities. And guys, I suppose that Kevin Wilson, my co-host, and myself, and maybe all of us that do radio, have some narcissistic personality issues, right? But I think that we keep them better in check. So he was at a church in Crown Heights, Brooklyn on Sunday, and as we all know, he resigned under the cloud of sexual harassment. Guys, he didn't resign because of the nursing home fiascos. He didn't resign because of his executive orders that made no sense, that sent old people back to nursing homes, that he tried to hide the total numbers for. Guys, that's like history now. We've forgotten all about that. And man, that is unfortunate to me. Okay, like the real issue that we should hold all of our legislators accountable for is the fact that they granted this guy who like I said, has narcissistic personality disorder. And again, I don't like walking down this. I can talk about things that he's done specifically, and I don't want to just get into this name calling thing with him, but that they granted this guy even after he destroyed the upstate Democratic coalition to like he did things that were malicious political moves. Okay. I- I- Ignoring Zephyr Teachout every chance he got, minimalizing all voices of opposition, eh, destroying people, blaming people for things that he did. Like he's an amazing guy. So basically, here he is saying God isn't done with him yet. Basically hinting. Um, Here's a quote from him from that the church service on Sunday. I haven't spoken about it yet in public because I want to talk about it here with you because God's guidance is helping me through. I that's uh, honestly, right? I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? Um, yeah, just that they let him in a church is amazing to me. But okay, they did. Um, a- he's got some great quotes here. I mean, I never turn my back on my friends. Uh, Cuomo reiterated a familiar defense that he wasn't aware he was making any of his former female aides feel uncomfortable, and basically he just said that that's how Italians behave. So, in instances that they viewed as sexual harassment, and he again apologized for being unaware that his behavior was politically incorrect. I mean, first of all, no one buys that. I hope that no one buys that. But you know what? In this cult of personality society that we live in, people are going to buy it, man. People are going to buy it. People will buy it. And guys, the other thing that he has is a war chest that's like $20 million. Okay. So I'm not kidding when I tell you we're not done with him. All right. Even though the ethics commission in New York about his book deal is holding $5.1 million of his money. Yeah, so more on Cuomo. He is an extremist on all levels. He's a drama junkie. Thank you, Facebook user. I agree with you. I write it off as like I said, I don't want to devolve into calling him names, but with him, to be fair to myself, he does make it really hard. Yes, yes, Facebook user. And again, guys on the radio, you got to join in sometimes on the Facebook stuff. But you can always call in when Kevin and I are doing our lives or when Larry's doing his lives or when Craig's doing his lives. But he's like a reality TV show. He is, right? Like everything he does. He even complained that his brother got fired from CNN for completely misappropriating CNN's resource to try to defend his brother. Like he in this article, he even makes an issue of that. I don't know how he does he gets away with it. I don't know how he keeps and he's gonna guys like look, I want everyone to wake up and say Cuomo's a bad guy, all right, and that we don't want him in positions of power. But that's simply not how personality cults work. Okay. And he ruled New York State for 10 years, 8 years. Yeah, yes, Shelley, the Albany bishop wouldn't let him take communion, and that, no offense, right? Like that is a way for bishops to make news too, and of course they wouldn't let him take communion. He's got definitely anti-religious sentiment, even though here he is, like not unlike our current governor, using a church to espouse his views and to rehabilitate his image or push an agenda. Which, guys, I do always kind of get a little bit frustrated with the fact that I think state worship and government worship they've substituted. Like there's a lot of people out there, I just want to say it this way, there's a lot of people out there that could use a good religion, okay, and worshiping the state I don't think is the best religion, all right, and I don't think it's sensible, sane, and I don't think it allows for politeness to other people. Guys, we're coming up on another break. It is Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant. I will be right back after these messages. All right, Kevin Wilson, you still out there? Like guys, this is bonus content for you, the internet viewer, but um, it's also awkward content because I'm going to kind of monkey around with the show and check a couple things out. So, but so, anyways, guys, I'm like figuring out how to do this stuff on StreamYard, which is pretty much makes it a lot more fun when I've got people out there. I don't know if you can. Have you guys seen my shirt? Truth is treason in the Empire of Lies. Make 1984 fiction again. Those are things that are important. Guys, thank you for the likes. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the shares. I think for the next segment, Kevin, if you I just sent you a link. If you want to jump in for the next segment, I want to talk about well, we could talk more about Cuomo, or we could talk more about, if you're interested, you don't have to. But yeah, you see that, guys, that was part of my campaign pledging stuff. Shelly and Ryan probably remember it, but the RC Cola, the third party cola. We're not Coke, we're not Pepsi, we're just better. I don't know. We were coming up with all sorts of slogans and sayings when we were doing it, and we had a lot of fun with it. And when I was running for office, we definitely had a blast making a lot of noise, right? But anyways, so the next thing, guys, for the next 10 minutes, the next segment, I want to talk about how this latest omnibus spending bill um, went through, the amount of money that's associated with it, um, and just more legislators not at all legislating. It's very, very, very frustrating. And guys, as we know in New York, we've had an experience here for the last 2 years where there was our legislators were um, not I don't even know how to say it. They weren't legislating. They put themselves in a position where they actually couldn't do their job, and then they complained that they couldn't do their job because they put themselves in a position to not be able to do their job. It's kind of typical political analogy of how things don't or do get done, if you understand what I mean by that. Which I know I'm kind of talking in circles about that, but I can't really help it. All right, Kevin's baking bread or something. He can't do it. But that's all right. I have you guys helping me with this show, and that's going to be good enough. All right. And guys, if you're out there and you haven't liked, commented, or shared, please like, comment, or share. Please ask questions in the yeah, the electric bus, right? Forget the electric bus. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. All right, so fresh loaf of sourdough in 7 minutes, then maybe Kevin will jump on. So let me do this next segment about the omnibus spending bill, and then maybe Kevin and I can do the last segment of the show together. So what? Yeah, but don't worry about it, Kevin. It's fine. No big deal. Look at that guy. Look at that, guys. That's Woodrow Wilson's grandson right there. Great grandson. Sorry, Kevin. I know I get that wrong every once in a while. So let me write down the time. I'll go live at about 45 seconds from now. So 34, 30. I don't know if you guys can see the time on your end, but I've got a little timer up in the left of my screen. And if I keep track of everything, then I minimize the work that Bob has to do to cover for me. And well, you can. All you have to do is come on. All right. And welcome back to A Free Solution. It's Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant, your Thursday host. And once again, I got to give a shout out to Larry Sharp, who literally went out. And guys, you guys all know this. Larry's an important guy. He went out of his way to talk to me and ask me to do the radio show at least, one day a week. Kevin is a busy man. I'm a busy man. Larry's a busy man. And it was just such an honor to have that conversation with him. And it brought me back here because I was doing lives when I was running for office. And I thought it was a great way to reach a lot of people and save some basically save some money and some time, right? And so I think I was successful with that. And so basically this show, NWYSL 1040 AM in the Rochester area, and WACK, that give us an hour a day every day to discuss libertarian politics. And I know that we cohabitate certain areas with conservatives. So the people out there that listen to this radio show, that like talk radio, that like Glenn Beck, probably like a real lot of things that we have to say. And you're certainly going to like this next part. Okay. This discussion of, here we are, guys, here we are talking about inflation. Here we are talking about, and guys, one of the cures for inflation, raising interest rates. Guys, a lot of you people didn't live through the 70s, didn't see how we fixed the malaise, the inflation from the 60s. You didn't live through that. And they tried price controls, and what price controls do is lead to shortages. And what poor monetary, too much spending does is leads to inflation. And what artificially constricting supply to fit an agenda hurts poor people. Okay. I'm not kidding. I said what I said. These policies that the elite virtue signalers in our society don't care about lower middle income people and even middle income people. Okay. And even you at the upper ends of the middle class. Okay. They don't care about you. They sell you a bill of goods, and they basically devalue your currency. They devalue your time. And look, your $15 an hour push for a $15 an hour minimum wage, all of those gains have at least, all of the gains that you got through government force have at least been minimized by government action. Okay, those things are facts. You can spin it that it was Trump's fault. You can spin it that it's Biden's fault, but the fact remains that poor monetary policy hurts you more than your employer trying to pay you the least amount of money that it can. Maybe that's not true. That point's probably worth arguing with me, but I don't care. These things are real. Okay, poor monetary policy hurts the lower middle class the most of all. They carry the burden of all of these things. They carry the burden of high taxes. Okay, when you're making $30,000 a year and your gas doubles in price in the course of 8 months, and your milk goes up $1, at some point you're going to be making some really, really, really tough decisions, okay? About how much you eat, about how much you drive, about how much fun you can have, and about how much heat you can use in your house. You're going to have to make some really tough decisions. And guys, those decisions are okay if you're saving for something, if you're working towards something, if you have a predictable pattern that you can solve and move forward through the life that you want to build. But every time the government twists that up on you, they hurt you. That's it. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're at a point in your life where you don't feel that pain anymore. There are young people that are feeling that pain. And what are they going to do? They're going to get angry. What else are they going to do? They're going to advocate for more of the disastrous program. And this is an unfortunate reality. People get caught in advocating for more of the disastrous programs that caused them the problems that they faced in the first place. Follow that one down the wormhole, right? Because that is unfortunately an absolute reality. So I started this out by talking about a spending bill and feckless legislators, okay? And yes, there's a party affiliation with a lot of this feckless legislating that's going on in our society right now. But those of you who are going to say that Republicans are the answer, okay, I get it. There's good Republicans, but Republicans, and this is with all due respect to Republicans, okay, human beings that are Republicans, okay, they they participate in this stuff. That they make sure they get theirs, and look, that's it. Okay. Politicians are politicians, and Republican, Democrat doesn't matter. If you want better politicians, if you want real solutions, there's only one way to go. You will get better Democrats. You will get better Republicans. You will craft a better future for your kids. Okay. Sane monetary policy. These things are what libertarians offer. But okay, so I keep getting sidetracked, guys. You guys know how I go, right? My brain just will go shooting down a side track. I don't even know how I keep up with it. I don't know how, when Kevin and I are doing the show together, I don't know how he keeps up with it, but it just, whatever. So this omnibus spending bill, guys, it's $1.5 trillion. Let's talk about first what is a reality about what's been going on with these guys. They have gotten away with this so many times without Nancy Pelosi, the architect of these kind of bills, like the way that they get passed. Okay, they get dropped. Check this out. This bill got dropped on out of committee at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then they were forcing people to vote on it. I think it was 9 hours later. 9 hours later, there's 2,700 pages, okay, in a omnibus spending bill. Now, guys, we don't have a budget. These guys are supposed to control the purse strings of the federal government. We don't have a budget. Alls we have, and alls we've had, I think, I want to say since 2000 and, I don't know, 2018, 16. It's been a really long time, guys. And if you know, you can feel free to post it in the comments. But we haven't had a budget that was passed, debated, argued over from the legislators doing their job in the House of Representatives in years, in absolute years. Okay. So what they do is they craft this big, huge spending bill. They drop it out of committee late at night, and then they're asking people to vote on it the next day when it's 2,700 pages long. And we remember when Nancy Pelosi said, "We've got to pass the bill. We've got to pass the bill before we find out what's in it." Because that right there, and she got reelected. Okay, she's been getting reelected. That is amazing to me that there is that little accountability to our elected representatives, and it's because of the duopolistic mindset, guys. I don't want to kid you about this, I don't want to beat you, but we get stuck in. And our next segment, I'm going to take us in a different direction, okay? But we talk about red team, blue team, go fight, win, okay? And they craft a bunch of platitudes that get you mad at the blue team, and they craft a bunch of platitudes that get you mad at the red team. And I'm not going to lie, right? The conservative side of the red team had a lot of appeal to me, but things in my brain didn't add up. And sometimes it seems like conservatives are angry about things that they shouldn't be angry about. And more than that, though, people are people. Human beings are human beings. You can't talk me into liking a war. It doesn't matter which side I'm on. Yes, I'm on America's side. Yes, I want us to be strong in our national defense, but I want us to defend ourselves, okay? And I want us to be ready to defend ourselves. That's entirely different than being the world's policeman and acting at the behest of NATO. Now, does that mean that I completely minimize the reality that is for the human beings in Ukraine? And and do I think that Russian aggression is okay? None of those things can be okay. And I feel no internal conflict. As a matter of fact, I feel less internal conflict when I think of all of the things that are wrong with this situation. Netflix, guys, Netflix, I can't believe what Netflix did to the Russian people. That is probably the most offensive piece of this. They can no longer watch reruns of, well, you can't watch reruns of The Office. You can't watch reruns of NCIS. You can't watch reruns of anything on Netflix in Russia right now. That is the iniquity of that is just, it's just horrible. All right. So basically, we're going to come up on another break. I apologize. I kind of lost track. The omnibus spending bill is an example of how legislation gets done in this country over and over and over again. And it's a real problem. And it needs to stop. But who's going to stop them? The Democrats going to stop them? We get more Republicans in. Are they going to stop them? Maybe. We've seen what happened in the past. It's Tim O'Connor, the Freedom Variant. I'll be back after these messages. Yeah, so that's a good question, right? I'm not sure that I don't know. First of all, like if Texas wasn't part of the United States, that would be one thing, right? So it would be that would make it closer to a better question, Ryan. I'm not trying to like I like talking to you because you're sharp, but this is witty, man. This is witty and it's smart. But is that actually a good analogy? It's not the worst analogy, but like if Texas was its own independent state, would the United States annex it? Would Mexico try to re-annex it? Would it create a war? Like so that's kind of where we would be at. That would be the angle to look at this from. Um, so in the final segment of the show, I think that we should probably talk about the fact that we are conditioned to talk about geopolitical politics, federal politics, national politics, when in fact, I think that we should be talking about this stuff more at home, okay, more locally. And I know Craig did a segment on it today, and I feel like it ties into the conversations about Russia and Ukraine and all of those things. It ties into them, and I think it's important that we try to have a little bit of a conversation about it. Kevin, did Kevin hit the like button, or are you telling him to hit the like button? That's a good question. Yeah, and oh, he's here. All right, brother. What's happening?
Been here like for 5 minutes.
Have you? I didn't
Yeah.
notice. Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I was waiting. I jumped in. I wasn't sure if your segment had ended yet, so I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna hang out because I was pulling my bread out of the oven, and
so it's a sourdough.
It's a nice sourdough. I did the sourdough trend and I stuck with it, so looks nice.
And Ryan, you're right. Like they do talk about seceding all the time. I don't know that they're ever going to, but we were working on an analogy, right? And look, Ryan's wicked. He's really good at this. Like this could sell. Like he wants to make T-shirts out of this, right? If Mexico tried to take back Texas, should Russia get involved? And the answer, of course, is I'm like I go to that third way of, well, is that the best analogy for this? And then so I kind of we're I guess we're kind of arguing a little bit. You know what I mean? But not really. If Mexico and Shelly come back, I love it. It would be nice to see Larry win or make a huge impact, whatever it is, right?
It can happen.
Kevin, I'm going to try to steer us in the direction for this last segment of things that we can think about locally that are way more important than the geopolitical landscape, unless you have some pressing issue that you need to burn out there.
No, I came on at your request, sir. This is your show. I'm joining as your guest.
All right. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm the host for once. Yeah. And I'm going to keep track of time. So far, flawless. But we'll go back at 49 and we'll take it to 61 or 101. Welcome back to A Free Solution. It's Tim O'Connor, your Thursday host, the Freedom Variant, coming at you on WYSL and WACK. And out of the blue, out of nowhere, the man, the myth, the legend, Woodrow Wilson's great-great-grandson,
hey,
Kevin Wilson, has joined me. How you doing, bud?
Oh, doing great. So just
making some bread, I guess.
Yeah, at home making some sourdough bread, and you're like, oh, come on the show. Come on, man.
That's the beauty of modern internet technology. One of the many beauties of modern internet technology. So one of the things that I was talking about, I talked about Cuomo. I've talked about inflation, right? And just how devastating inflation is to the lower middle class, just how we get upset over the Ukraine-Russian deal, and now we're going to be facing even more inflation. It's a real, these are real issues that people, and I don't, did I even say the omnibus spending bill, how they dropped it on the floor of the House at 2:00 in the morning and expected people
it's
to
basically
vote
like
on it?
33 different bills jam packed into one, and of course they manipulate the members of Congress into voting for it. Like, oh, you're going to vote against the Violence Against Women Act?
I know. How dare you vote against a violence? And I can tell you guys that the Violence Against Women Act is a pay for prosecution bill, but you're going to get mad at me when I explain that to you. And that's on its face. Okay, first of all, yes, violence against women's bad, but like, is the Violence Against Women's bill the best answer? Does it have problems, and is it fatally flawed? And does it create a situation in family court that is, it exacerbates the warring? And I think it does. But I'm just controversial. I just want to be controversial. I don't
Yeah,
want
you're
to
just
go
trying
with
to be
the
edgy
convention.
for radio. That's all it is.
That's
No,
it,
no, but you're right. Like that, but that should be debated as a standalone thing, on his own bills, on his own merits. But Congress is so broken that they no longer do that. Justin Mash correctly points this out
Oh,
frequently.
he had a killer tweet that something about. I wish I had it ready, but he lit them up. He talked about everything I talked about, that we haven't had a continuing resolution, that these things getting dropped out on the floor on the dead of night and expecting 2,700 pages. They expect people to be able to go over it and do their job is incredible. It's irresponsible. And that's what they do. And then, like you're saying, they'll just virtue signal till it passes. That's it.
Yeah,
Until
and they got something for everyone, right? So like, no
yeah,
matter
sure.
how you vote in there, like, because there's an aid package for Ukraine in there too, and people are like, oh, don't you care about what's going on in Ukraine? You're gonna vote against this bill? And you're like, no, it's like a $2 trillion bill. No, we got to look at what's in it. We got to debate it. We can't just vote on this without being able to read the whole thing.
They
Wow.
dropped some COVID relief. They did make a trade-off, Kevin. They dropped some COVID relief stuff to send more money to Ukraine. That's my understanding.
Oh wait, that's cutting spending, right?
That's cut. Yes, cut. I like how we used air quotes there. Yes,
Yeah, like great radio technique, cutting spending.
We do have to remember that we have a radio audience, and they are absolutely important.
Listen,
right?
they could tell from my voice I was using air quotes.
Sure.
It was layered in there. So folks in our radio audience, they get it. They get us.
We're conditioned, like it's like a sitcom kind of deal, right? Like we're conditioned to think about the federal government like it really affects us in our daily life. And yes, poor monetary policy affects us, and irresponsible spending affects us. But the solution, a free solution, is to get more involved in local politics, right? Like I tell a story about a guy that ran for local school board because we had a superintendent that was, like I said, he's not the worst guy in the world, but I don't think he focused on the right issues. And he was very authoritarian, like incredibly very authoritarian and virtuously very authoritarian. And so this guy got elected, and guess who goes away, right? Like he decided that his time at our local school was done, and it was just so happened to be right after this guy got elected. And it was great. Like it was local politics having a local impact that I think is for the better for my community and for my kids and their friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, absolutely. Getting involved in your local politics is great, but also finding ways to get around and make government obsolete, also great.
Sure. Like if first of all, Larry Sharp has a great idea about how to reinvent local education. Okay, and one of the things that it's going to work really well for densely populated urban areas. It's going to be a little bit more challenging to implement in rural New York, but it still could be implemented here, where the money associated with the student, because we spend something like $30,000 a year per student, will follow that student whatever school they go to. And if you don't think that would, freedom of choice when it comes to education will make public education better, having those little petty authoritarians competing for dollars, will make them better human beings, honestly.
Well, and honestly, like even within like rural school systems, right? Like you're gonna have small boutique schools. You don't think that like a teacher can figure out a way to take that like 30K in funding for 10 students
Oh
and
God,
do something great with that. I'm sure they can figure that out.
they would love it. They would absolutely love it. And so on that note, we would have to open up sports to be more inclusive, right? Like if you're homeschooled now, you can't play sports in New York State. It's a
Well,
punishment.
again, like let's play out the vision for this, right? Because like it doesn't have to be like the sports landscape could end up shifting to where you have conglomerations of like homeschool teams, using public sports facilities that are privately owned or maybe publicly owned,
Yeah.
whatever. And that's how sports could end up operating, where you end up with these like club teams that end up playing against the school teams, and,
Yeah,
and
we're
people will adapt, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're close to that now. There
Yeah.
are soccer clubs, there are wrestling clubs, there are baseball clubs. I mean, we everybody gets their kid if they like a sport at all. Everybody does their best to get their kid on a travel team, right? And so it could really that the framework is already there. It
Yeah.
would just be flipping a switch, really. Just
Exactly. Like
reconfigure.
again, people already do this all the time. I mean, God
Yeah.
help parents who are on a travel team. Like, I really hope my son doesn't want to do travel hockey because that sounds terrible. I mean, like it'll be awesome, but like,
Listen, I traveled all over the country taking my kid wrestling.
yeah,
I have friends in Michigan. I have friends in like North Carolina. Like I have friends all over the place that I met because my kid wrestled and he enjoyed it. So we would take him to tournaments wherever he wanted to go. And so it was a great format and it's a
yeah,
lot of fun. And you're gonna have a blast. Travel hockey's a blast. I'm
sure
sure
it
it
is.
would be
I
a
mean,
blast.
my son is 1 year old, so I'm not gonna
Well,
assume
have
he's
you
gonna
got him
play
skates
anything.
yet?
What's that?
Have you got him skates yet?
No, not yet. He's already behind, so
How about
it's
a
probably
stick?
too late. It's
How about you get him a stick with some
Yeah, no, I
gear?
mean, like he's currently like cruising on the couch, so I didn't know if like skates might be too soon, but I probably missed the window.
I mean, you could get him plastic skates or rubber skates or something like that, just so gets used to having them on his feet. You know what I mean?
Skate before he can walk.
Yeah, I mean, I started my kid wrestling. He was like 5, so
There you go.
you gotta
But
you gotta make a commitment.
there we go. Just all right, baby Seamus. Before you can even talk, you're gonna.
Yeah, no, I mean that. I don't have you tested his hand-eye coordination, rolled a ball at him, anything like that?
So he can roll a ball, so he's on his way.
Just, I mean,
I'll get him in a team. You're right.
You keep doing that. So again, let's circle back around to other places where local politics can play. My friend Brian LaRusso ran for town supervisor, and oh, excuse me. What he managed to do was he went after the local elected board and found where they had made mistakes with money, like that they should have been collecting money from a FEMA grant, that they should have been doing this, that they weren't filing their laws that they wrote and taxing people on. They weren't filing them with New York State. And so at the very least, Brian had a profound positive impact, even though he came really close, but he didn't win that election, but he came really close. He had a profound positive impact on the way that local board is going to do business in the future. Okay. And so that's another way, right? And
If
then
you
when we
get
talk about,
better governance, that's a great
yeah,
thing.
when we talk about how we're getting in our area, people are just putting up windmills and they get a permit from the state. They don't even have to go to the local community hardly at all to discuss it. They can just go to the clearinghouse at the state, like, hey, can I have a permit to put up windmills? And it's like windmills have some detrimental effects over distance that people don't want to deal with. Lights flickering, there's a constant hum. When we deal with solar panels, the externalities of solar panels are not the same, and you can hide them from everybody on your land. So it's a little bit different. But people want to have input on windmills, and they have elected officials. We need to take that power back into our communities, and I think we can do it, but we got to get elected.
Yeah, get elected, and if you can't get elected, that the city council, town council stuff, there's boards too, zoning boards, planning boards, things like that. If you have the right expertise, you start talking to folks in town. You can get on those things and make a big difference in your community.
Yeah. So the conditioning, right? This circus-like atmosphere of the AOCs and the Nancy Pelosi's, and even guys that I like Thomas Massey, who I do like, and Rand Paul, who I do like. There's still a circus associated with them that comes from the top down to us to entertain us. And like, I know you hate the term bread and circuses, but this federal level stuff is a little bit like bread and circuses. They get us excited, they get us fighting.
Oh no, I get that. It is.
Okay.
I've called it like kayfabe before, right? Like it's like wrestling personalities sometimes where they're putting on a show. They know they're putting on a show. You know, in back they're gonna go do their own thing, but they're putting on a show to get people riled up. I just don't like it when people tell me I shouldn't watch the Bills game.
Yeah, that's a personal choice, and they did politicize it, and we're coming up on, guys. We're coming up on a break. I hope that you come back and join Kevin and I tomorrow with the same energy that we had tonight. This was great. As you know, we try to have fun on Friday. Kevin and I are going to prep it up. We're going to have a blast. Once again, I can't thank WYSL and WACK enough. Remember, we share this platform with Larry Sharp, Craig Miles, the Freedom Variant, and Kevin Wilson, even Andrew Hollister. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much. I nailed it, bro. I nailed it.
You got it. No, I think you're up. Also, something I've done, and some of y'all are gonna like listen to my podcast or listen to the show one time and notice this, is if I run over like 30 seconds, you just speed it up a little bit, like just like 2%.
These are
you can't even notice it. But there's a couple things where we've gone over on segments like, oh shoot, all right, can't go over, cut it down.
Oh, you can do that right on the Audacity or whatever.
Yeah, on Audacity. Yeah.
So Shelly, that was honestly, as you knew, right? Shelly was really participated a lot when I was running for office. I didn't have any possible belief that I was going to win. Like there was exactly zero chance. I had been taken off the ballot, right? So there was no chance I was going to win. All I wanted to do was make a lot of noise. I got invited to some debates. Matter of fact, my Republican challenger backed out of a debate at Cornell because they invited me to be there. And I don't care. He could say whatever scheduling conflict nonsense he wanted, but he did not want to put his face on the stage with mine, period. Because
no,
I'm better looking and I'm smarter.
I had the Republican wouldn't show up to the local NPR debate. Local PBS affiliate debate because he didn't want to be in the same room as me. I know what it is. Like when they found out they invited me too, he's like, nope, I'm only doing the Channel 8 debate. And then the sitting Congressman Morelli, ended up backing out once the Republican didn't show up.
Yeah.
But you can still make a difference in some of these situations. Either you show up anyway, or I ended up getting some earned media right prior to the debate on my channel.
Yeah.
So
our buddy Dwayne did a nice job. He got on the debate stage with those two jokers, and I thought he way outclassed him. So it kind of proves that there's a real benefit to having an R or a D next to your name because he definitely outsmarted them. You know what I mean? Like he was good.
That's the tough part, It's like when Dwayne and I we both ran and we both and he did such a great job getting media, getting debates, and to see him not get more was heartbreaking. So,
yeah, I don't know what the answer ever is. I do know that politics is a popularity contest. I know that news can bring you popularity, but even people not liking you can bring you popularity, right? If people are talking about you in a negative way, then other people come check you out.
To get people to have a conversation, that's...
Yeah. Oh, there's my buddy Brian. Brian, you got to mention on the radio show tonight, the official piece of the radio show. I talked about your race and how you ferreted out corruption and bad practices in your local community. So at the very least, even though you didn't win, your race was valuable. And bro, you came really close. Like it was, and huge turnout, like a huge turnout for this small town. Like normally like 400 people turn out. You had like 750 people turn out,
Right on. Love to see it.
It was awesome. And he is. That's the other thing about Brian is he hangs in there. He hangs tough.
Right
I have to edit this. I also have I had a huge tree fall on a shed on a property that I sold. Like it was just like this, and the closing date's like in 2 weeks or something. I don't know.
Oh,
I got
man.
I've got like 150 hours worth of work to do in the next 3 days. So I got to
Yeah, I
get this.
saw it fell on a building, right?
Yeah, I had like
No.
my zombie apocalypse shed. I don't know if you have one of these, Kevin. Maybe because you live in a city, you probably only have a closet.
Just
But
a
like
bunker?
I have a shed where I just store old wood, and it kind of came with the property, and I throw more in it. You know, like so there's wood and there's like ball bearings and old motors and stuff, just in case things go really bad. I'm ready, right?
You'll have a bunch of motors that don't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
I
Gonna be
mean, they
super
might
helpful.
work. They might work. I don't know. This is perfect. This is if you get involved in local politics, these are things that you can find, right? So, guys, like I said, I gotta go. And Alice is one that was experiencing that windmill issue over in her area. There's a lot of people complaining
yeah.
about them. But guys, I do have to edit the show for Bob. I got to get it emailed out, and all this stuff is right. Probably because no, I was not. I'm pro-Russian people. I'm not pro-Vladimir Putin. It could be anything. It could be the CIA, the FBI, any of the alphabet soup agencies.
All
Don't
of them
want me to have
together.
any money ever.
That's right. They knew the ATF knew you were going to use that money to buy guns or something.
No,
For
I'm
sure.
not. No, all of my gun. I am gun free, fellas.
Yeah.
I don't believe in weapons.
Yeah. You're on a libertarian. They just assume.
Oh, it's a right, an inherent right to self-defense, both from a tyrannical government and bad people. So it's a right. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not the Second Amendment is just the words associated with that right in our country. The right exists. That's it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I say about the Constitution. Like it's the good stuff was in the Bill of Rights. The rest of it, I don't know. You know. All right, guys. Thank you all very much. I appreciate the comments. And join us again tomorrow night if you can. Thanks, Kevin, for
tomorrow.
jumping on. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah.